Do you know what it feels like to watch your mother die because you trusted the wrong logo? The question hung in the air of that expensive restaurant, and I watched a room full of dangerous men go completely silent. My hands were still shaking from what I had just done, standing there in my stained uniform, interrupting a $250 million deal, calling out a man who looked like he could buy my entire life with his watch. But I had to, because that sun-shaped logo on his glossy brochure was the same one that killed my hope 6 months ago. Let me tell you something about courage and desperation. Sometimes they look exactly the same. And sometimes the bravest thing you will ever do is speak up when every survival instinct is screaming at you to stay quiet and keep your head down. That moment when you realize staying silent will cost you more than speaking up ever could. Hey, before I get too deep into this, how are you all doing today? Wherever you are watching this from, I hope you are having a better day than I was having that afternoon. Drop a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you have ever had one of those moments where you knew you had to speak up even though you were terrified, you're going to understand every single thing I am about to tell you. My name is Claire Dawson, and this is the story of how I went from scrubbing tables for minimum wage and tips that barely covered my mother's medication to sitting across from one of the most powerful and feared men in the city, being handed control of $250 million and a chance to actually save lives instead of just watching them slip away. But let me start from the beginning. I was 26 years old when this happened. 26, and so tired I could barely remember what it felt like to not be exhausted. I had been working double shifts at Giovanni's for 3 years. It was one of those upscale Italian places where the appetizers cost more than my weekly grocery budget, and the wine list had bottles I could not even pronounce. The kind of place where powerful people came to make deals, and I came to survive. I believed in working hard. I believed that if you kept your head down, did your job, and stayed out of trouble, life would eventually get better. I believed that good things happened to good people, and that justice was real, and that somewhere out there, someone was looking out for the little guy. I believed my mother would get better because we were doing everything right, following every doctor's order, taking every medication, showing up to every appointment. I believed in a lot of things back then. The restaurant was my whole world. Wake up at 5 in the morning, take 2 buses to get there by 6:30 for the breakfast shift. Smile at customers who did not see me as a person. Clean up messes. Memorize orders. Dodge wandering hands from men who thought a $20 tip bought them the right to touch. Work until 2 in the afternoon, grab whatever leftover bread the kitchen was throwing out, take 2 buses home. Check on my mother. Make sure she took her pills. Listen to her cough. Watch her get weaker. Then head back out for the dinner shift at 5. Work until midnight. 2 more buses home. Sleep for 4 hours. Repeat. That was my life. That was my entire existence. My mother, Patricia, she had been diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer 14 months before this story really begins. She never smoked a day in her life. Just bad luck, the doctor said. Like that was supposed to make it hurt less. We did not have insurance that covered experimental treatments. We barely had insurance that covered anything. So we did what millions of people do. We looked for help. That sun-shaped logo. Horizon Hope Foundation. Their brochures were everywhere in our neighborhood 6 months before I saw it again at Giovanni's. Glossy paper. Smiling children. Promises of free medication, treatment assistance, and medical supplies for families struggling with cancer. They held community meetings. A man in an expensive suit stood in our church basement and talked about compassion, about how no one should have to choose between medicine and rent, about how they had helped thousands of families just like ours. My mother cried with relief when they approved her application. Finally, she said. Finally some help. They took our information. Our medical records. Our financial statements. They promised the medication would arrive in 2 weeks. Critical medication that cost $4,000 per month that we absolutely could not afford. They said it was all taken care of. Just trust the process. We trusted. The medication never came. 2 weeks became 4. 4 became 8. Every time I called, a cheerful voice told me it was processing. Be patient. These things take time. My mother's condition got worse. I watched her fade a little more each day, watched her struggle to breathe, watched her try to hide how much pain she was in because she knew I was already barely holding it together. By the time I realized it was a scam, by the time I found the news articles about the fake charity that had stolen from hundreds of families across 3 states, it was too late. The website was gone. The phone number disconnected. The office address led to an empty building. And my mother was dying faster because we had wasted 3 months waiting for help that was never coming. I had to borrow money from a loan shark just to get her back on basic pain medication. The kind of loan that comes with interest rates that make you want to throw up and threats that make you stop sleeping. But what choice did I have? Watch her suffer? Let her die in agony? So yeah, I knew that logo. I knew it the way you know the face of someone who hurt you. The way you know danger. The way you know evil. And there it was. 6 months later. In my restaurant. On a glossy brochure. Being presented to a table I had been specifically told not to approach unless absolutely necessary. Table 12. The corner booth. The one with a view of the entire restaurant and both exits. The one that was always reserved even when the place was empty. The table where Vincent Russo sat every Tuesday and Friday evening at exactly 7 o'clock. Everyone knew who Vincent Russo was. If you lived in this city and you did not know that name, you were either incredibly sheltered or intentionally ignorant. The papers called him a suspected organized crime figure. The streets called him something else entirely. He owned half the construction contracts in the city, a dozen legitimate businesses, and according to every rumor and whisper, he controlled territory that stretched across 4 states. He was not the kind of man you interrupted. He was not the kind of man you even looked at directly unless he spoke to you first. He was not the kind of man who tolerated mistakes or disrespect or anything that even smelled like betrayal. I had served his table exactly twice in 3 years. Both times I kept my eyes down, my voice quiet, and my movements quick. Both times I got a tip that was more than I made in a week. Both times I went home and thanked God I had not done anything to upset him. But that Tuesday evening I was not thinking about any of that. I was refilling water glasses 3 tables away when I saw the man sit down across from Vincent. He was older, maybe 60, with perfectly styled gray hair and a suit that probably cost more than my car. He had that smooth confidence of someone who had been rich his entire life, who had never worried about anything as mundane as an electric bill or a medical payment. And he had a stack of glossy brochures. With that Sun logo. My hands froze on the water pitcher. I watched him spread the brochures across the table. Watched him lean forward with that same concerned, compassionate expression I remembered from the church basement. Watched him point to photos of sick children, of smiling families, of brand new hospital wings that probably did not exist. I could not hear what he was saying from where I stood. But I knew. I knew exactly what he was saying because I had heard it before. The same promises. The same manipulation. The same evil wrapped up in the language of charity and kindness. Vincent was listening. Actually listening. His expression was different than I had ever seen it. Not hard. Not cold. Almost conflicted. Like he wanted to believe what he was hearing. The man pushed papers across the table. Contract papers. I saw Vincent pick up a pen. And something inside me broke. Not broke like shattered. Broke like a dam bursting. Like every ounce of rage and grief and helplessness I had been swallowing for 6 months suddenly had nowhere else to go but out. I did not think about what I was doing. I did not think about who Vincent Russo was or what he could do to me. I did not think about my job or my safety or anything except the fact that I was watching the same evil that destroyed my family about to destroy someone else, and I could not, would not, let it happen again. I walked straight to table 12. The water pitcher was still in my hand. My heart was hammering so hard I thought my ribs might crack. Every eye in the restaurant turned to watch me. The other servers looked horrified. The manager started moving toward me, probably to drag me away before I got us all killed. But I got there first. That logo, I said. My voice came out stronger than I expected. Clearer. That charity is a scam. The older man looked up at me like I was a fly that had just landed on his expensive suit. Vincent's eyes locked onto mine, and for a second, I forgot how to breathe. Excuse me? The older man's voice was smooth, amused, like I was entertainment. I am sorry, but this is a private conversation. I know, I said. My hands were shaking, but I did not back away. I know it is. But that foundation, Horizon Hope, it is not real. They scammed my entire neighborhood 6 months ago. They took information from sick people, promised medication and treatment, and delivered nothing. My mother was on their waiting list for 3 months while her cancer got worse because we were waiting for help that never came. Young lady, the man said, his tone sharpening, I do not know what you think you know, but this is a legitimate registered charity. We have helped thousands of families. If your mother did not receive assistance, perhaps she did not qualify or there was a processing error, but that hardly means. There was no processing error, I interrupted. My voice was getting louder. I could not stop it. There were hundreds of families. I found the news articles. I found the lawsuits. The foundation took donations, took private information, and disappeared. They reopened under different names in different states. That Sun logo, I would recognize it anywhere. You are using the same brochures, the same photos, probably the same lies. The man's face changed. The smooth concern vanished. What replaced it was cold and mean. I think you should get back to work before you say something you will regret. You clearly have no idea what you are talking about. I know exactly what I am talking about. I was shaking so hard the water in the pitcher was rippling. Those children in the photos, they are stock images. I reverse searched them. The hospital wing you are promising to build. You promised the same thing in Ohio 2 years ago. It was never built. The medication program you are describing, it does not exist. You collect the money and you disappear. You stupid little waitress, he hissed, standing up. He was taller than me, bigger. Using his size to intimidate. You have no proof of any of this. You are making wild accusations based on internet conspiracy theories. Mr. Russo, I apologize for this interruption. Your staff clearly does not understand boundaries or professionalism. But Vincent had not said a word. He was still watching me. His expression was unreadable. I have proof, I said. My voice was steadier now. I have the lawsuit documents. I have the names of the families who were scammed. I have screenshots of the website before it disappeared. I have the police report I filed. I have everything. Because when this charity destroyed my family, I made sure to document every single lie. I reached into my apron pocket. My phone was old, cracked screen, barely functioning. But it worked well enough. I pulled up the folder I had never deleted. The one I looked at sometimes late at night when I could not sleep, when the anger got too heavy to carry alone. I set my phone on the table in front of Vincent. Article after article. Lawsuit after lawsuit. Photo comparisons showing the same success stories used in different cities under different names. Financial records from the Ohio investigation showing money flowing into offshore accounts. The older man tried to grab my phone. This is absurd. Mr. Russo, please let me explain. Do not touch her. Vincent's voice was quiet. Deadly quiet. The kind of quiet that made the entire restaurant seem to hold its breath. The man froze, his hand hovering in the air. Vincent picked up my phone. He scrolled through the documents. His face showed nothing, but his jaw was tight, his knuckles white where he gripped the phone. The silence stretched. 5 seconds. 10. 20. Then Vincent looked up at the older man. How much were you about to take from me, Richard? Richard. So they knew each other. Former business partner, maybe. Vincent, I can explain. This girl, she does not understand. It is complicated. Charity work always has complications. But our intentions are good, I swear. How much? Vincent's voice dropped even lower. 250 million, Richard said quickly. But it is for the children, Vincent. For sick children. You know I would never. Get out. Vincent stood up. He was not a huge man, but in that moment, he seemed to fill the entire space. Get out of my restaurant. Get out of my city. And if I ever see you again, if I ever hear you are running another scam like this, I will not be merciful. Do you understand me? Richard's face went white. He grabbed his brochures, his papers, and he ran. Literally ran. Out of the restaurant. Into the street.
Gone.
The restaurant was completely silent. Every person, every conversation, frozen. Vincent looked at me. Really looked at me. Like he was seeing me for the first time. "What is your name?" he asked. "Claire," I whispered. "Claire Dawson." "Claire," he repeated. He handed my phone back to me. "Thank you." Then he turned to one of the men at a nearby table. "Anthony, handle the exit. Make sure Richard understands the message." Anthony nodded and left quickly. Vincent sat back down. He gestured to the chair across from him, the one Richard had just abandoned.
Seat. It was not a request.
My legs were shaking so badly, I almost fell into the chair. I set the water pitcher down on the table because I could not hold it anymore. "You just saved me from losing $250 million, Vincent said.
His voice was calm now.
Thoughtful. "You also saved me from looking like a fool. Do you know how many people would kill for the chance to make me look foolish?" I did not know what to say. I just shook my head. "Why did you do it?" he asked. "You do not know me. For all you know, I deserve to be scammed." The question caught me off guard. I looked at him directly for the first time. His eyes were dark, sharp, but there was something else there too. Something almost human. "Because nobody deserves what that man does," I said quietly. "Nobody deserves to have their hope stolen. And if he had taken that money from you, he would have just kept doing it to other people. More families like mine. More mothers like mine. I could not let that happen." Vincent studied me for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Go back to work, Claire," he said. "But do not leave when your shift ends. I will send someone to get you." My heart dropped into my stomach. "Am I in trouble?"
"No," he said.
And then he smiled.
"Just barely."
Just enough to make him look almost kind. "You are the opposite of trouble." I stood up on shaking legs, picked up my water pitcher, walked back to my section. Every person in the restaurant was still staring at me. I had no idea what I had just done. No idea what would happen next. No idea that my entire life was about to change in ways I could not even imagine. All I knew was that for the first time in 6 months, I had stopped someone from stealing hope. And that had to mean something. That had to count for something. Even if it terrified me. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Trust me, you will not want to miss what happens next. Because what Vincent Russo said to me in his office 20 minutes later changed everything I thought I knew about power, about justice, and about what one person can do when someone actually believes in them. But first, let me tell you how I got to that office and what I was thinking as I walked through those doors. The rest of my shift passed in a blur of whispered conversations and sideways glances. Every server, every busboy, every person in that kitchen had something to say about what I had done. Most of it was not encouraging. "You are insane," Maria whispered as we passed each other near the kitchen doors. She had been working at Giovanni's for 7 years, longer than anyone else. "Do you have any idea who you just embarrassed in front of Vincent Russo?" I did not answer. I could not. My hands were still shaking as I carried plates, refilled drinks, and tried to pretend everything was normal. But nothing was normal. Nothing would ever be normal again. Tommy, one of the line cooks, caught my eye through the kitchen window. He drew a finger across his throat and mouthed, "You're dead." He was smiling when he did it like it was a joke. But his eyes were serious. Only one person seemed genuinely concerned rather than morbidly curious. His name was David Chun, and he had been working as a server at Giovanni's for about 8 months. He was quiet, kept to himself mostly, always studying something on his phone during breaks. Business courses, he told me once. He was trying to get his degree while working full-time. "Claire," he said softly during a lull around 9 o'clock. We were both restocking the server station in the back. "Are you okay?" "Really?" I looked at him. He had kind eyes. Tired like mine, but kind. "I do not know," I admitted. "I just did what I had to do." "That was brave," he said. "Stupid, maybe, but brave. Whatever happens next, just remember that you probably saved that man from losing everything. That has to count for something." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that doing the right thing would protect me somehow. But I had learned the hard way that the universe does not actually care about right and wrong. It just keeps spinning, indifferent to the people getting crushed underneath it. At 11:45, 15 minutes before my shift was supposed to end, a man in a black suit appeared at the server station. I had never seen him before. He was tall, built like someone who spent a lot of time in the gym, and his expression gave away absolutely nothing. "Claire Dawson?" he asked. My stomach dropped. "Yes. Mr. Russo is ready to see you. Come with me." It was not a request. I untied my apron with numb fingers. Maria was watching from across the room, her expression somewhere between pity and fascination. David gave me a small nod, trying to be encouraging. The manager, Mr. Peterson, suddenly became very interested in the reservation book and refused to make eye contact. I followed the man in the black suit through the restaurant. We did not go toward the dining room. Instead, he led me through a door marked private that I had walked past 1,000 times, but never entered. Behind it was a narrow hallway with dark wood paneling and soft lighting. It smelled like expensive cologne and old leather. We climbed a staircase. My legs felt weak. Every step took effort. The man did not speak, did not look back to make sure I was following. Just assumed I would. And I did, because what choice did I have? At the top of the stairs was another door. Heavy, dark wood, with a brass handle that looked like it cost more than my monthly rent. The man knocked twice, waited for a response I could not hear, then opened the door and gestured for me to enter. "Good luck," he said quietly. And there was something in his tone that sounded almost like respect. I stepped through the door, and it closed behind me with a soft click that sounded very final. The office was nothing like I expected. I had imagined something dark and threatening, all shadows and intimidation. But this was different. The room was large, with tall windows that looked out over the city lights. There were bookshelves filled with actual books, not just for show. A desk made of dark wood sat in the center, covered with papers and files organized in neat stacks. Photographs on the walls showed landscapes, not the expected gallery of criminals and weapons. Classical music played softly from speakers I could not see. Vincent Russo stood by the windows, looking out at the city. He had taken off his suit jacket. His shirt sleeves were rolled up to his elbows. For a moment, he looked almost ordinary, almost human. "Come in, Claire," he said without turning around. "Sit down." There were 2 leather chairs facing the desk. I sat in one of them, perched on the edge, ready to run, even though there was nowhere to run to. He turned away from the window and moved to sit behind his desk. Up close, in better light, I could see details I had missed before. He was probably in his early 40s. Dark hair touched with gray at the temples. Strong features, the kind that photographers probably loved. But it was his eyes that caught me. Dark brown, almost black, and incredibly tired. Like he had seen too much and slept too little. He opened a drawer and pulled out a file. My file, I realized. He must have had someone pull my employment records while I finished my shift. "Claire Elizabeth Dawson," he read. 26 years old. Working at Giovanni's for 3 years. Never late. Never called in sick. Never any complaints from customers or management. Lives in the Westbrook Apartments on Franklin Street. No criminal record. No debts except medical bills and a recent loan from... He paused, his expression darkening. "Anthony DeMarco." "Claire, do you know who Anthony DeMarco is?" My mouth went dry. "A loan shark. One of the worst in the city," Vincent said quietly. "How much do you owe him?" $12,000, I whispered. "I borrowed $4,000 6 months ago for my mother's medication. The interest just keeps adding up." "And you thought borrowing from Anthony DeMarco was a better option than asking for help somewhere else?" "I did not have somewhere else," I said, and I hated how small my voice sounded. "No bank would loan to me. I do not have credit. I do not have collateral. I do not have anything except a dying mother and bills I cannot pay. So yes, I went to a loan shark because watching my mother suffer was worse than anything Anthony DeMarco could do to me." Vincent was quiet for a moment. Then he closed the file and leaned back in his chair. "Tell me about your mother," he said. The question surprised me. "Why?" "Because I want to know. Tell me about her."
So I did.
I told him about Patricia Dawson, who worked as a kindergarten teacher for 30 years, who loved children's books and bad romantic comedies and terrible puns that made everyone groan, who sang off-key in the kitchen while making breakfast, who never missed one of my school plays or parent-teacher conferences, even when she was working 2 jobs after my father left, who taught me that being kind was more important than being right, and that helping people mattered more than helping yourself. I told him about the diagnosis, about watching her shrink inside her own body, about the way she apologized for being sick, like it was something she had chosen, about how she still tried to make me laugh even when she could barely breathe, about the Horizon Hope scam and how it had stolen 3 months we did not have to waste.
She is in hospice now, I said.
My voice cracked. I had not cried in front of anyone in months, but sitting in that office, talking to this stranger, who actually listened, it all came pouring out. I visit every day before and after work. She is on palliative care. Just pain management. They say she has maybe 2 months left. Maybe less. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. I am sorry. You did not ask me here to listen to my problems. Actually, Vincent said quietly, I did. He stood up and walked to a small bar cart in the corner. He poured 2 glasses of something amber-colored and brought one to me. Drink this. I do not drink, I said. Tonight you do. Trust me. I took the glass. The liquid burned going down, but it helped somehow. Gave me something to focus on besides the crying. Vincent sat back down. He looked at me for a long moment, like he was making a decision. Richard Crawford, he said finally. The man you exposed tonight. He and I went into business together 15 years ago. Real estate development. We made a lot of money. Built a legitimate empire. Then 5 years ago he got greedy. Started skimming. Started making deals behind my back. I found out, and we dissolved the partnership. It was not pleasant. He took a sip from his own glass. He disappeared for a while. I heard rumors he was running charity scams, but I never had proof. Then, tonight, he walks into my restaurant with this heartbreaking pitch about sick children and redemption. And for a moment, I actually wanted to believe him.
Why? I asked.
Vincent smiled, but it was sad. Because I am not a good man, Claire. I have done things I am not proud of. Hurt people. Destroyed lives. Built my empire on foundations that would not hold up to any moral scrutiny. And the older I get, the heavier it all feels. So when Richard came to me with a chance to do something good, something that might balance even a tiny bit of the damage I have caused, I wanted it to be real. I wanted to believe I could buy my way into being decent. He looked directly at me. But you did not let me. You risked your job, probably your safety, to stop me from making a catastrophically stupid decision. Why? I already told you, I said. Nobody deserves what Richard does. Not even you. Not even me, he repeated softly. You know what I am, Claire. What I do. The rumors are not rumors. And yet you protected me anyway. I did not protect you. I corrected. I stopped him. There is a difference. Is there? He seemed genuinely curious. I thought about it.
Yes.
If I had stayed quiet and let Richard scam you, he would have taken that $250 million and used it to hurt more families like mine. That is not justice. That is just more pain spreading out into the world. Stopping him was not about protecting you. It was about protecting everyone else he would have destroyed next. Vincent leaned forward, his elbows on the desk. You are either the most naive person I have ever met, or the most principled. I have not decided which yet. Can I be both? He laughed. Actually laughed. It transformed his entire face, made him look younger, more human. Yes, he said. I think you can. He opened another drawer and pulled out a checkbook. Your loan with Anthony DeMarco.
12,000 dollars.
Consider it paid. You will not hear from him again. I stared at the check he was writing. I can't accept that. You can, and you will. You saved me $250 million tonight. 12,000 is nothing. It is less than nothing. But I will owe you, I said. That is how this works, right? Nothing is free. There is always a price. He slid the check across the desk. The price is already paid. You gave me the truth when you had nothing to gain from it. That is worth more than any amount of money. I looked at the check. My hands trembled as I picked it up.
12,000 dollars.
Freedom from Anthony DeMarco and his threats. No more interest piling up. No more fear. Thank you, I whispered. Do not thank me yet, Vincent said, because I am about to ask you something, and your answer is going to determine what happens next. My heart started racing again. What? He stood up and walked back to the window, looked out at the city for a long moment before turning back to me. If you had $250 million, he said slowly. If you had that money and complete freedom to use it however you wanted, what would you do with it? The question caught me completely off guard. What? The money Richard was trying to steal. If it was yours right now, what would you do? I opened my mouth, closed it, tried to think past the absurdity of the question. $250 million is not real to me. I cannot even imagine that much money. Try.
So I did.
I thought about my mother, about all the other mothers like her, about the families in my neighborhood who had been scammed, about the children who actually needed help, who deserved better than fake charities and broken promises. I would build what Richard pretended to build. I said finally. A real foundation. Real hospitals. Real treatment programs for families who cannot afford cancer care. I would hire actual doctors, actual social workers, people who know what they are doing. I would create something that actually helped people instead of just stealing from them.
How?
Vincent asked. What do you mean how? Walk me through it. What would the first step be? I thought about it. Research, I guess. Find out where the biggest need is. What communities are underserved. What types of cancer have the least funding. Then location. You would need facilities close to the people who need them, not just in rich areas where the real estate looks good for publicity. Then staffing. You would need to pay people well enough that they actually care about doing good work, not just collecting a paycheck. And oversight. Real financial oversight so nobody could steal or skim or turn it into another scam. Vincent was watching me intently. What else? You would need to make it accessible. Not just financially, but actually accessible. Transportation programs for people who cannot drive to appointments. Childcare for parents who need treatment. Translators for families who do not speak English. Flexible hours for people who work multiple jobs. All the things that actually prevent people from getting help, not just the cost. I was talking faster now, getting into it, and you would need to hire people who have actually lived this. Not just rich people who think they understand poverty. People who know what it is like to choose between medication and food. People who know how to navigate bureaucracy when you are exhausted and scared. People who will not judge you for being poor or uneducated or desperate. I stopped. Realized I had been rambling.
Sadi.
You probably think I am crazy. No, Vincent said quietly. I think you know exactly what you're talking about. I think you have thought about this a lot. And I think you are the only person I have met in a very long time who actually understands what it means to help people instead of just performing charity. He came back to the desk.
Sat down.
Looked at me with an expression I could not read. Claire, I'm going to make you an offer. And I need you to think very carefully before you answer. My stomach twisted. Okay. I want you to build it. The real version of what Richard was pretending to create. I will give you $250 million. I will give you the resources, the connections, the protection you need. And I want you to actually make it happen. I laughed. It came out high-pitched, almost hysterical. You cannot be serious. I am completely serious. I am a waitress. I have a high school diploma and 3 years of serving pasta to rich people. I have no experience running anything except my own life into the ground. You cannot just hand me $250 million and expect me to build a functional charity. Why not? Because I do not know how. Because I would fail. Because this is insane. You would have help, Vincent said calmly. Lawyers, accountants, administrators. People who know how to set up foundations and manage money. But they would answer to you. Because you are the only one who understands what actually matters. I stood up. I was shaking again.
No.
Thank you for the offer. Thank you for paying my debt, but no. This is crazy.
You do not even know me.
I know enough, he said. I know you are honest. I know you are brave. I know you understand the problem you would be trying to solve because you have lived it. That matters more than any business degree or nonprofit experience. But why? I asked. Why would you do this? Why would you trust me? Vincent was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than I had heard it all night. Because 15 years ago, my sister died of leukemia. She was 23 years old.
Brilliant. Kind.
She wanted to be a teacher. And we could not afford the experimental treatment that might have saved her. By the time I had made enough money to pay for it, it was too late. She was gone. He looked away. I built my empire on violence and fear and greed. I became the kind of man who terrifies people. And every day I wonder if she would be proud of me or ashamed. I wonder if the money was worth what it cost. And when Richard walked in tonight offering me a chance to finally do something good with all this blood money, I wanted it so badly, I almost ignored every instinct telling me it was too perfect to be true. He looked back at me. You stopped me from being a fool. You gave me the truth. And now I am offering you a chance to turn that $250 million into something that actually matters. Something my sister would have needed. Something your mother needed. Something real. I could not speak. Could not breathe. The weight of what he was offering was crushing. I cannot do this, I whispered. Yes, you can. I will fail. Maybe. But you will fail while trying to help people. That is better than what most people do with their lives. What if I steal from you? What if I turn out to be just another Richard? Vincent smiled. You will not. Because if you were that kind of person, you would have stayed quiet tonight. You would have let Richard take my money and gone home to your life without complicating anything. But you did not. You spoke up even though it terrified you. That tells me everything I need to know. I sat back down because my legs could not hold me anymore. I need time to think. No, you do not, Vincent said gently. You have already decided. I can see it on your face. You're just scared of saying yes. He was right. God help me, he was right. If I do this, I said slowly, if I actually try this, I want full control. I want transparency. I want oversight. I want to make sure this is real and legal and actually helps people. I want the freedom to say no if something feels wrong. And I want protection. Because if I am managing $250 million of your money, other people are going to come after me. Done, Vincent said immediately. All of it. You will have lawyers draw up the papers. You will have security. You will have whatever you need. And my mother, I added. I want the best care possible for her. Not fake charity care. Real treatment. Real comfort. Whatever time she is left, I want it to be good. Already arranged, Vincent said. I made some calls while you were finishing your shift. She is being transferred to a private facility tomorrow morning. The best palliative care in the state. Whatever she needs, whatever makes her comfortable, it is hers. Tears filled my eyes again. Why are you doing this? Because you gave me a chance to be better than I am, he said simply. Do not waste it. I looked at him for a long moment. This dangerous, feared man who was offering me the chance to change everything. To turn suffering into hope. To build something real out of all the pain. Okay, I said. Okay, I will do it. Vincent smiled. Not the small, careful smile from before. A real smile. Full of something that looked almost like relief. Then welcome to the most important job of your life, Claire Dawson. He extended his hand across the desk. I took it. His grip was firm, warm, and somehow made me feel like maybe, just maybe, I could actually do this impossible thing. What I did not know yet, what I could not possibly have known in that moment, was that Richard Crawford was not going to accept his defeat quietly. That my decision to speak up had put a target on my back bigger than I could imagine. And that the real danger was just beginning. But that night, sitting in Vincent Russo's office, shaking his hand and trying not to cry, I let myself believe that everything was going to be okay. I let myself hope. And hope, I was about to learn, is the most dangerous thing in the world. I did not sleep that night. How could I? I went from serving pasta for tips to being handed control of $250 million in the span of 4 hours. My brain could not process it. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that handshake, heard Vincent's voice, felt the weight of what I had just agreed to do. At 6 in the morning, I gave up on sleep entirely. I took a shower, put on the nicest outfit I owned, which was a simple black dress I usually saved for funerals, and waited for the car Vincent said would pick me up at 7:30. It arrived exactly on time. A black sedan with tinted windows. The same man from the night before, the one who had brought me to Vincent's office, stood beside it. "Good morning, Miss Dawson," he said. "My name is Marcus. I will be your head of security." "I need security?" My voice came out higher than intended. "You are now managing a very large amount of money for a very powerful man," Marcus said simply. "Yes, you need security." The drive took 20 minutes. We pulled up to a building I had passed 100 times but never entered. 15 stories of glass and steel in the business district. The kind of place where important people made important decisions. The kind of place I never imagined I would belong. Marcus led me through the lobby to a private elevator. We rode to the 14th floor in silence. When the doors opened, I stepped into a space that looked like it had been designed specifically to intimidate people like me. The entire floor was open concept with glass walls separating different sections. Modern furniture that probably cost more than my car. Computers on every desk. And people. At least 20 people, all dressed professionally, all looking busy and important. They all stopped and stared when I walked in. "Everyone," Marcus said loudly. "This is Claire Dawson. She will be running the new foundation. Mr. Russo has asked that you give her your complete cooperation and support." A woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and sharper clothing stepped forward. "I am Barbara Winters. I will be your chief operating officer. Mr. Russo hired me last night to help you build this organization." "Last night," I repeated stupidly. "Mr. Russo is very efficient when he wants something done," Barbara said. Her tone was not unkind, but it was clear she was evaluating me. "I have 30 years of nonprofit experience. I have built 4 successful foundations from the ground up. I know how to navigate the legal requirements, the fundraising networks, the public relations challenges. What I need from you is vision and direction." A younger man stepped forward next. He could not have been more than 30, with nervous energy and an eager expression. "Thomas Riley. I am your communications director. I will handle all media relations, public announcements, and social media presence. Mr. Russo said you wanted transparency and oversight. I am here to make sure the public sees exactly what we are doing." A woman with kind eyes and graying hair approached. "Dr. Sarah Okonkwo. I am a medical director and oncology specialist. I will be consulting on all medical programs and treatment protocols. I worked in public health for 15 years before this. I understand what underserved communities actually need." One by one, they introduced themselves. Lawyers, accountants, social workers, administrators. All hired in the last 12 hours. All brought together because Vincent Russo decided I was worth believing in. It was overwhelming, terrifying, completely surreal. "I do not know what I am doing," I said suddenly. The words just fell out. "I need you all to know that right now. I have never run anything like this. I am going to make mistakes. I am going to need help. A lot of help." The room was silent for a moment. Then Barbara smiled. It was small but genuine. "Good," she said. "Leaders who think they know everything are dangerous. Leaders who ask for help actually get things done. We can work with that." The next 3 hours were a crash course in foundation building. Barbara walked me through legal structures, nonprofit classifications, and tax requirements. Thomas showed me mock-ups of website designs and social media strategies. Dr. Okonkwo explained treatment protocols and community health models. The lawyers talked about liability and contracts and 1,000 other things that made my head spin. But underneath the overwhelm, something else was happening. I was starting to understand, starting to see how all these pieces fit together, starting to imagine what this could actually become. At 11 o'clock, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. Hello. Claire Dawson. The voice was male, smooth, professional.
Yes.
Who is this? My name is Detective James Morrison. I am with the Fraud Division. I am calling about a complaint you filed 6 months ago regarding a charity called Horizon Hope Foundation. My heart jumped.
Yes.
I filed that complaint. They scammed my mother and dozens of other families in my neighborhood. I know, Detective Morrison said. We have been investigating them for over a year. They operate in multiple states under different names, but they're very good at covering their tracks. We have had trouble building a solid case. Why are you calling me now? I asked. Because something interesting happened last night. Our surveillance team witnessed you confronting Richard Crawford at Giovanni's restaurant. We have been trying to catch Crawford in the act for months. You did it in about 3 minutes. I sat down hard in the nearest chair. You were watching? We have had eyes on Crawford since he returned to the city 2 weeks ago. We knew he was planning something big. We just did not know what until last night. Detective Morrison paused. Miss Dawson, I need to ask you some questions. And I need to warn you that you may be in danger. What kind of danger? Richard Crawford is not someone who accepts defeat gracefully. You humiliated him publicly. You cost him $250 million. And now you are working with Vincent Russo to build exactly the kind of foundation Crawford was pretending to create. That makes you a threat to his entire operation. My mouth went dry. What are you saying? I am saying you should be careful. Very careful. Crawford has connections, resources, and a history of eliminating people who get in his way.
His voice softened.
I am also saying that if you are willing to testify against him, if you are willing to share what you know and what you witnessed, we might finally be able to put him away for a very long time. Before I could respond, the elevator doors opened and Vincent Russo stepped onto the floor. He was dressed in a dark suit, looking every bit the powerful businessman. But his expression was tight, concerned. Detective Morrison, I said into the phone, watching Vincent approach. Can I call you back? Of course. But Ms. Dawson, please be careful. And please consider what I said. We need people like you willing to stand up to people like Crawford. He hung up. I lowered my phone slowly. Who was that? Vincent asked. Fraud Division detective. He wants me to testify against Richard. Vincent's jaw tightened. What did you tell him? Nothing yet. He just called. I looked up at Vincent. Did you know the police were watching last night? I suspected. Richard does not move around without attracting attention. He pulled up a chair and sat across from me. The entire office was pretending not to watch us, but I could feel everyone's attention focused in our direction. Claire, I need to tell you something, Vincent said quietly. And you are not going to like it. My stomach dropped. What? Richard Crawford left the city last night. We do not know where he went. But this morning, 3 of his known associates were spotted asking questions about you. About where you live. About your mother. About your routines. The room suddenly felt very cold. He is coming after me. He is definitely watching you. Whether he is planning something more aggressive, we do not know yet. But I am not taking chances. Vincent gestured to Marcus, who had been standing silently by the elevator. Marcus and his team will be with you 24 hours a day. You will not go anywhere alone. Your apartment building will have security posted. And your mother's facility already has protection in place. This is insane, I whispered. I just wanted to stop a scam. I did not sign up for this. I know, Vincent said. His voice was gentle. And if you want to walk away right now, I will understand. I will still provide protection for you and your mother. I will still pay your debts. But you can step back from the foundation if this is too much.
I thought about that.
Thought about walking away. Going back to my quiet, struggling, safe life. Serving pasta and avoiding trouble. Then I thought about my mother. About the families Richard had destroyed. About the children who needed real help, not fake promises. About the chance to actually make something good exist in a world full of scams and suffering. No, I said firmly. I am not walking away. If Richard wants to intimidate me, he can try. But I am not letting him win. Not this time. Vincent smiled. I was hoping you would say that. But I am going to testify, I added. If the police can build a case against Richard, I want to help.
He needs to be stopped.
Not just scared off. Actually stopped. That is your choice, Vincent said. But understand that testifying will put you in his crosshairs even more directly. He will see you as the primary threat to his freedom.
Good, I said.
The anger that had been simmering since my mother got scammed was rising to the surface now. Let him see me as a threat. Let him know that people like me are not going to stay quiet anymore. Maybe if more of us spoke up, people like him would not be able to hurt so many families. Barbara approached cautiously. I do not mean to interrupt, but we need to discuss our first major decision. We have to choose where to establish our first facility. I have been researching locations with high need and low access to cancer care. I have 3 options prepared. She spread folders across the conference table. Each one contained detailed research on different communities. Demographics, existing healthcare infrastructure, gaps in service, community need assessments. This is incredible, I said, flipping through the first folder. You did all this in one night. I had help, Barbara said. And Mr. Russo provided access to research resources I have never had before. I looked through all 3 options. Each community desperately needed help. Each had compelling reasons to be chosen. But one folder made me stop. This one, I said, pointing to the second folder. Westbrook. Your neighborhood, Vincent observed.
Yes.
Because I know it. I know the people, I know the needs, I know what works and what does not. And because the families there were hit hardest by Richard's scam, they deserve to see that something real can come from their suffering. Barbara nodded approvingly. That is exactly the kind of reasoning we need. Personal knowledge combined with practical thinking. There is an abandoned medical clinic on Franklin Street, I continued. It has been empty for 3 years since the owner retired. The building is solid but needs renovation. It is right on the bus line. Easy access for people without cars. Close to the grocery stores and schools so parents can combine errands. The neighborhood already knows the location. They trusted it once. They could trust it again. Dr. Okonkwo was making notes. I know that building. It has good bones. Proper examination rooms, waiting area, even a small laboratory. With investment, it could be perfect. Then, that is our first location, I said. And hearing myself say it, making that decision, felt surreal and terrifying and absolutely right. The rest of the day passed in a whirlwind. Lawyers drew up papers for the foundation, officially named Horizon Hope Alliance because I wanted to take back the name Richard had stolen and turn it into something real. We discussed staffing plans, treatment protocols, partnership opportunities with hospitals and pharmaceutical companies. Thomas showed me the social media announcement he had drafted. It explained the foundation's mission, its commitment to transparency, and its connection to the communities it would serve. He wanted to include my story, my mother's story, as the emotional heart of why this mattered. Are you comfortable with that? He asked. Being public about your personal experience? I thought about it. Thought about privacy versus impact. Thought about how many families out there felt alone in their struggles. Yes, I said. If sharing my story helps even one family feel less alone, it is worth it. At 6 o'clock, Vincent appeared again. We need to go. Go where? To see your mother. I promised you the best care possible. I want you to see what that looks like. The facility was nothing like the hospice where my mother had been. This was a private mansion converted into a medical residence, with only 12 patients receiving around-the-clock care from a staff that outnumbered them 2 to 1. Gardens. Private rooms. A level of attention and dignity I had not known existed. A nurse led us to my mother's room. The door was open. Late afternoon sunlight streamed through large windows. And there, in a comfortable bed with soft blankets and extra pillows, was my mother. She looked better than I had seen her in months. Still sick, still dying, but comfortable, peaceful. A nurse was reading to her from one of her favorite books. Claire, my mother said when she saw me. Her voice was weak, but warm. What is happening? They moved me this morning and will not tell me anything except that it has all been taken care of. I sat beside her bed and took her hand. It was so thin now, so fragile. Mom, something incredible happened. Something that is going to change everything. I told her the whole story. About confronting Richard at the restaurant. About Vincent's offer. About the foundation. About the chance to turn her suffering into something that would help thousands of other families.
She cried.
I cried. The nurse quietly left the room to give us privacy. My brave girl, my mother whispered. I always knew you would do something important. I just did not know it would be this important. I am terrified, I admitted. I do not know if I can actually do this. You can, she said firmly, because you understand what matters. You have lived it. That is worth more than any fancy education. She squeezed my hand weakly. Make it count, Claire. Make all of this mean something. I will, I promised. I swear I will. Vincent had waited in the hallway. When I came out, my eyes red from crying, he handed me a tissue without comment. Thank you, I said. For this. For all of it. She will have everything she needs, Vincent said quietly. Whatever time she has left, it will be good time. I promise you that. We drove back to my apartment in comfortable silence. Marcus and another security guard walked me to my door, checked the apartment thoroughly, then positioned themselves in the hallway. We will be here all night, Marcus said. You are safe. But as I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I did not feel safe. I felt exposed. Visible. Like I had stepped into a spotlight I could not step out of. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You should have minded your own business, waitress. You cost me everything. Now I am going to cost you the same. Sleep well. My hands shook as I showed the message to Marcus. He immediately called Vincent. Within 10 minutes, police were involved. The number was a burner phone, untraceable. But the message was clear. Richard Crawford was not just watching.
He was planning something.
And I had just become his primary target. That night, lying in my bed with armed guards in my hallway and threats on my phone, I realized something important. This was not just about building a charity anymore. This was about survival. About standing up to someone who made a career out of destroying people like me. And I was either going to succeed and change lives, or I was going to become another one of Richard's victims. There was no middle ground anymore. No safe path. No way back to my old life. I had committed to something bigger than myself. And now I had to see it through, no matter what it cost. The real fight was just beginning. The next 3 weeks moved faster than anything I had ever experienced. Every morning started at 6 with security briefings from Marcus. Every day was filled with meetings, decisions, and problems I had never imagined I would need to solve. Every night ended with me collapsing into bed, exhausted but unable to sleep because my brain would not stop spinning. The foundation was becoming real, too fast. We secured the old clinic building in Westbrook. The renovation started within days. I watched construction crews transform the abandoned space into something clean and modern and welcoming. Dr. Okonkwo hired a staff of nurses and social workers, all with experience in underserved communities. Barbara negotiated partnerships with pharmaceutical companies willing to provide medication at reduced costs. Thomas launched our social media presence with a video I recorded explaining our mission. Within 48 hours, it had been viewed over 2 million times. The comments were overwhelming. Hundreds of people sharing their own stories of medical debt, denied treatment, and fake charities that had stolen their hope. People were crying out for exactly what we were trying to build. But with visibility came pressure. We have received over 3,000 applications for assistance, Barbara told me during a morning meeting. People are desperate. They are calling, emailing, showing up at the construction site. We have not even opened yet, and the need is already more than we can handle. What do we do? I asked. We prioritize, Dr. Okonkwo said. We create assessment criteria. We start with the most critical cases and work outward. It is not perfect, but it is reality. People are going to be angry, Thomas warned. When we turn anyone away, even temporarily, there will be backlash. We need to be prepared for that. I thought about my mother, about what it felt like to be told no when you were desperate. Then we do not turn them away. We create a waiting list. We partner with other organizations to help people we cannot serve immediately. We make sure everyone who reaches out gets connected to something, even if it is not us directly. Barbara nodded approvingly. That is good leadership. Realistic, but compassionate. But being realistic and compassionate took resources.
Time.
Energy. And I was running out of all three. Vincent checked in daily, usually appearing at the office around noon. He never stayed long, never interfered with decisions, but his presence was a constant reminder of who was funding this operation and what would happen if I failed. "You look exhausted," he said one afternoon, finding me alone in my office, staring at budget spreadsheets. "I am exhausted," I admitted. "We are spending money faster than I thought possible. Even with your funding, I am terrified we are going to run out before we can actually help anyone." "You are overthinking it," Vincent said, sitting across from me. "The money is there. Use it. That is what it is for." "But what if we waste it? What if we build all this, and it does not work?" "Then we learn and adjust." "Claire, you are acting like this has to be perfect from day one. It does not. It has to be real and honest, and committed to improving. Perfect comes later." I wanted to believe him, but the pressure was crushing. Every decision felt massive. Every choice had consequences I could not fully predict. And then there was Richard. After that first threatening text, he went quiet. Too quiet. Detective Morrison called weekly with updates, but they were all the same. Richard had vanished. His known associates were laying low. There was no evidence of immediate plans. "That does not mean he is gone," Morrison warned. "It means he is planning something bigger. People like Crawford do not just walk away from this kind of humiliation." The waiting was almost worse than an actual attack. Every unexpected sound made me jump. Every stranger made me nervous. I stopped sleeping more than 3 or 4 hours a night. Marcus noticed. "You need rest," he said one evening as he drove me home from another 16-hour day. "You are burning out." "I am fine," I lied. "No, you are not. And if you collapse from exhaustion, this entire operation suffers. You are not just Claire Dawson anymore. You are the face of this foundation. Your health matters." He was right, but I did not know how to slow down. There was too much to do. Too many people counting on me. Too much at stake. David from the restaurant reached out during week 2. I had not spoken to him since the night everything changed. His text was simple. "I saw the foundation announcement. I am proud of you. If you ever need help with anything, let me know." It was kind, genuine, and it made me realize how isolated I had become. I was surrounded by professionals, but I had no friends in this new life. No one who remembered who I was before all this started. I invited him to visit the construction site. He showed up the next day looking both impressed and overwhelmed. "This is incredible, Claire," he said, walking through the half-renovated clinic. "You are actually doing it." "I am trying," I said. "Some days I am not sure if I am building something real or just creating an expensive disaster." "You are making a difference," David said firmly. "I have seen the social media response. People believe in what you are doing. That matters." We sat on the front steps of the clinic, watching construction workers carry materials inside. For the first time in weeks, I felt almost normal. Like I was still just Claire, not the person running a $250 million foundation. "Can I ask you something?" David said.
Sure.
"Are you safe?" "With Vincent Russo, I mean. Everyone at the restaurant has theories about what really happened that night. Most of them are not good." I thought about how to answer that. Vincent is not what people think. Or maybe he is exactly what people think, but he is also more than that. He is giving me a chance to do something impossible. And yes, I am safe. Safer than I have ever been, actually. David looked skeptical, but did not push. "Just be careful. Men like him, they do not give things away for free. There is always a price." "I know," I said quietly. And I did know. I just was not sure yet what Vincent's price would be. On day 17, we had our first major crisis. A reporter from a major newspaper published an investigation into Vincent Russo's business dealings. The article was brutal, detailed. It laid out years of alleged criminal activity, racketeering, money laundering, and violence. And it specifically mentioned the Horizon Hope Alliance as a possible money laundering front. The article went viral. Within hours, we were flooded with angry calls and messages. People who had believed in us now felt betrayed. The families who had applied for assistance were panicking, worried they had given their information to a criminal enterprise. Thomas burst into my office, his normally calm demeanor completely shattered. "We need to respond.
Now."
People think we are a scam. "We are not a scam," I said, but my voice shook. "Everything we are doing is legitimate." "Then we need to prove it. Full financial transparency. Open our books to auditors. Show people exactly where every dollar is going." Barbara agreed. "It is the only way. We claim transparency. Now we have to deliver it even faster than planned." We spent the next 72 hours in crisis mode. Independent auditors examined every transaction. Lawyers verified every contract. We published detailed financial reports showing exactly how much money we had, where it came from, and where it was going. We opened our construction site to journalists and let them document everything. I recorded a video response that Thomas said had to be perfect. I sat in front of the camera, exhausted and scared, and told the truth. "My name is Claire Dawson. 3 weeks ago, I was a waitress, barely surviving paycheck to paycheck, while my mother died of cancer we could not afford to treat. Vincent Russo offered me a chance to build something real to help families like mine. I accepted because I believe in the mission, not because I believe in whatever else he might be involved in. This foundation is legitimate. Our finances are transparent.
Our goals are real.
And if you do not trust me because of who is funding this, I understand. But please do not let that stop you from getting help if you need it. We are here for you, regardless of where the money came from." The video got even more views than the first one. The response was mixed. Some people appreciated the honesty. Others said I was naive or corrupted. But slowly, the panic started to calm. Dr. Okonkwo pulled me aside after the crisis settled. "You handled that well. But you need to understand something. Vincent Russo's reputation will always follow this foundation. You will always have to work twice as hard to prove legitimacy because of where your funding comes from."
"I know," I said.
"Do you?" She looked at me seriously. "Claire, I have worked in nonprofit for a long time. I have seen good intentions destroyed by bad associations. If Vincent is involved in what that article claims, it will eventually touch you too. You need to be prepared for that." "What are you saying? That I should walk away?" "I am saying you should go into this with your eyes open. Understand what you are risking. Your reputation, your freedom, maybe even your life." Her words haunted me. But what choice did I have? Walk away now and let Richard win? Let all those families down? Prove that people like me should stay in our place and not try to change anything?
No.
I had come too far. Vincent came to see me that evening. He found me alone in the clinic, standing in what would eventually be the main waiting room. The space still smelled like fresh paint and sawdust. "You saw the article," I said. It was not a question. "I saw it. Is it true?"
"What they said about you."
Vincent was quiet for a long moment.
"Some of it. Not all of it."
"Does it matter?" "Yes," I said. "It matters because your reputation affects this foundation. It affects every person we are trying to help." "I know. That is why I am offering you a choice." Vincent moved to stand beside me, both of us looking at the empty room that would soon be filled with people seeking hope. "I can step back, publicly distance myself from the foundation, let you run it without my visible involvement. It might help with the perception problem. But you would still be funding it."
"Yes."
"The money is already committed. But I would not appear in photos, would not attend events, would not give anyone more ammunition to claim this is anything other than what you say it is." I thought about it, thought about how much easier things might be without Vincent's shadow hanging over everything. But I also thought about loyalty, about the fact that he had believed in me when no one else would have. No, I said finally. You gave me this chance. I am not going to pretend you do not exist just because it is convenient. We tell the truth. About everything, including where the money came from and why. Vincent looked at me with something like respect. You are either very brave or very stupid. Probably both, I admitted. But I am tired of hiding and pretending. If we are going to do this, we do it honestly. All of it. Then we do it honestly, Vincent agreed. But honesty, I was learning, came with costs I had not anticipated. 2 days later, I got a call from Detective Morrison. Ms. Dawson, we need to talk. In person. It is urgent. We met at a coffee shop far from my office. Morrison looked tired and worried. What is it? I asked. Richard Crawford is back in the city. We spotted him yesterday meeting with some people we have been watching for a long time. Bad people with connections to organized crime. My blood went cold. What does that mean? It means he is not planning to scare you anymore. He is planning something bigger. We do not know what yet, but we are taking it seriously. Morrison leaned forward. Ms. Dawson, I need you to consider witness protection. We can move you somewhere safe while we build our case. No, I said immediately. I have a foundation to run. A mother in hospice. I cannot just disappear. You might not have a choice. If Crawford is working with the people we think he is working with, your security guards will not be enough. These are professionals. Then arrest him, I said. You know what he has done. You have evidence. Stop him before he can do anything. We do not have enough yet. We have circumstantial evidence, witness statements, but nothing that would hold up in court without your testimony. You are our best chance at putting him away permanently. Then I will testify. I already told you I would. Not until the trial, which could be months away. Until then, you are exposed. I thought about everything I had built in 3 weeks. The clinic that was almost finished. The staff we had hired. The families waiting for help. The promise I made to my mother. I am not running, I said firmly. I am not hiding. Richard Crawford has spent his career making people like me feel powerless. I am not giving him that satisfaction. Morrison sighed. You are making my job very difficult. Good. Maybe that means I am finally fighting back. But as I left that coffee shop with Marcus hovering protectively nearby, I could not shake the feeling that I had just signed something I could not take back. That I had drawn a line Richard would not ignore. That night, my mother took a turn for the worse. The facility called at 2 a.m. I got there within 20 minutes, Marcus driving at dangerous speeds through empty streets. She was struggling to breathe. The nurses had increased her oxygen, but it was not helping much. She was awake though. Aware. Claire, she whispered when I took her hand. I am here, Mom. I am right here. Promise me something. Anything. Do not stop. Whatever happens, do not stop what you are building. Too many people need it. Tears streamed down my face. Mom, you're going to be okay. You're going to see the clinic open. You're going to see all of this work. She smiled weakly. No, baby. I am not. And that is okay. But you need to promise me you will finish this. No matter how hard it gets. I promise, I choked out. I swear I will. She squeezed my hand with what little strength she had left. My brave, beautiful girl. I am so proud of you. I stayed with her until dawn. She stabilized somewhat, enough to fall into a restless sleep. But I knew. We both knew. Time was running out. When I got back to my apartment, there was an envelope taped to my door.
No postie.
No return address. Just my name written in neat handwriting. Marcus grabbed it before I could. Do not touch it. Could be dangerous. He opened it carefully. Inside was a single photograph. It was me, leaving the coffee shop where I met with Detective Morrison. In the photo, someone had drawn a red X over my face. On the back, a message. You have 1 week to shut down the foundation and leave the city. If you do not, everyone you love will pay the price. Starting with your dying mother. My hands shook as I read it. Rage and terror fought for control. Call Vincent, I told Marcus. Call the police. Call everyone. Because Richard Crawford just made the biggest mistake of his life. I was not running. I was not hiding. And I was definitely not backing down. The real war had just begun. The photograph changed everything. Within an hour, my apartment was filled with people. Vincent, Marcus, Detective Morrison, and half a dozen others I did not recognize. Everyone had opinions. Everyone had plans. And I sat there numb, staring at that red X over my face. We move you tonight, Morrison said. Protective custody. Your mother too. Moving her will kill her faster, I said flatly. She is too weak. Then we put a team at the facility. 24-hour surveillance. Vincent had been quiet, standing by the window with his phone pressed to his ear. When he finally hung up, his expression was darker than I had ever seen it. Richard is not working alone anymore, Vincent said. My sources confirm he has partnered with the Kozlov family. Russian organized crime. They have been trying to move into my territory for years. Richard offered them a deal. Help him destroy you and the Foundation, and they get leverage over me. My stomach dropped. So, this is not just about revenge anymore. It never was. Richard saw an opportunity. You humiliated him, yes. But more importantly, you connected yourself to me. That made you a target for everyone who wants to hurt me. Vincent moved closer. I am sorry, Claire. I did not anticipate this. I thought my reputation would protect you. Instead, it painted a target on your back. This is not your fault, I said, but my voice was shaking. It is absolutely my fault. I brought you into my world without fully considering the consequences. He looked at Morrison. What do you need for me to end this? Evidence that will hold up in court. Recorded conversations. Financial transactions. Anything that directly ties Crawford and the Kozlovs to criminal activity. Give me 48 hours, Vincent said. Morrison's eyes widened. Mr. Russo, I need you to operate within legal boundaries. Of course, Vincent said smoothly. I will get you what you need. Legally. After everyone left except Marcus, I sat in my apartment and felt the full weight of what was happening. I was not just fighting Richard anymore. I was caught between organized crime families, federal investigators, and threats I did not fully understand.
My phone rang.
Unknown number again. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello, Claire. Richard's voice was smooth, almost friendly. Did you get my gift? You are threatening a dying woman, I said through clenched teeth. What kind of monster does that? The kind you created when you decided to humiliate me in front of Vincent Russo. You could have minded your own business. You could have stayed a nobody waitress living a nobody life. But you chose to be a hero. Heroes have consequences. I will not shut down the Foundation. Then your mother dies in pain. Then your little friend David from the restaurant has an unfortunate accident. Then that nice Dr. Okonkwo discovers her car brakes do not work. Should I continue? My blood turned to ice. You leave them alone. This is between you and me. Nothing is between you and me, sweetheart. This is about you learning your place. 1 week. Clock is ticking. He hung up. I called Vincent immediately. Richard just called me. He threatened David and Dr. Okonkwo by name. He knows everyone close to me. I am putting protection on both of them right now. Claire, I need you to trust me.
Can you do that?
I thought about everything that had happened. About Vincent's offer, his support, his complicated reputation.
Yes.
I trust you.
Good.
Because what happens next is going to be ugly. The next morning, I went to the clinic despite Marcus's protests. The construction was finished. The equipment was being installed. We were days away from opening. I stood in the main treatment room and thought about all the people this place would help. All the families who would not have to suffer like mine did. Barbara found me there. Claire, we need to make a decision. With everything happening, some of the staff are getting nervous. 2 of the nurses have already quit. They are scared to be associated with us. What about you? I asked. Are you scared? Terrified, Barbara said honestly. But I have spent 30 years building foundations. I have never seen one with this much potential to actually change lives. So,
I am staying.
But I need to know you are staying too. I am not going anywhere, I promised. That afternoon, David showed up at the clinic with Marcus trailing him. He looked angry. You put a bodyguard on me without asking? Richard threatened you by name? I said. I am not letting him hurt you because of me. David's anger softened. Claire, this is insane.
You need to step back.
Let someone else run the foundation. There is no one else. I made a promise. To who?
Vicente Russo.
He is using you. To my mother, I snapped. I promised her I would finish this. And I keep my promises. David shook his head. You are going to get yourself killed. Maybe. But I am going to help a lot of people first. On day 5 of Richard's deadline, Vincent called me to a meeting at a location I did not recognize. It was a warehouse in the industrial district. Inside, I found Vincent with a group of men I definitely did not recognize. They all had that same dangerous energy Marcus had. Controlled violence barely contained. What is this? I asked. Insurance, Vincent said. Richard thinks he can threaten you with impunity. He is wrong. These men will make sure he understands that. Vincent, I do not want anyone hurt because of me. They will not be. But Richard needs to know that touching you or anyone you care about will have immediate and severe consequences. He handed me a phone. Detective Morrison is on the line. Tell him what I am about to tell you. I put the phone on speaker. Ms. Dawson. Morrison's voice came through. I am here. Vincent began speaking clearly. Richard Crawford is meeting with Dmitry Kozlov tomorrow night at a restaurant on 5th Street. They will be discussing their plans to sabotage the Horizon Hope Alliance and eliminate Claire as a threat. I am providing this information freely and legally. I suggest you have surveillance in place. How do you know this? Morrison asked. I have my sources. But everything I just told you is accurate. Use it. Morrison was silent for a moment. If you are setting me up, Russo. I am not. I want Crawford in prison as much as you do. Maybe more. After the call ended, I looked at Vincent. How did you get that information? You do not want to know. But it is real. And tomorrow night, the police will have everything they need to arrest both Richard and the Kozlovs. And if something goes wrong? Vincent's expression hardened. Then I handle it my way. The next night felt like the longest of my life. I stayed at the clinic with Marcus and a full security team, waiting for news from Morrison. Every minute dragged. Every sound made me jump. At 10:30, my phone rang. Morrison. We got them, he said, and I could hear the triumph in his voice. Crawford and Kozlov, on tape, discussing everything. The charity scams, the threats against you, plans to bomb the clinic. We have enough to put them away for decades. I could barely breathe. Are you sure? Completely sure. We are making arrests now. You are safe, Ms. Dawson. I hung up and burst into tears. Marcus smiled, something I had never seen him do. It is over. But it was not over. 2 hours later, Morrison called back. His voice was different.
Tight. Scared.
They are gone. Crawford and Kozlov. We moved in to make the arrests and they were already gone. Someone tipped them off. My relief shattered into pieces. What does that mean? It means they know we have evidence. It means they know they are about to be arrested. And it means they have nothing left to lose. Morrison's voice was grim. Claire, you need to get somewhere secure.
Now.
They're going to come after you, directly. Vincent was already moving. My house. It is the most secure location in the city. We go now. We left the clinic immediately. 3 cars, all with armed security. The drive took 20 minutes through dark streets. Vincent's house was exactly what I expected. A mansion behind tall gates with security everywhere. Inside was beautiful, expensive, and felt like a prison. You will stay here until this is resolved, Vincent said. I have everything you need. Office space to work. Secure communications. Protection. For how long? However long it takes. That night, I could not sleep. I paced the guest room, checked my phone obsessively, and thought about everything that had gone wrong. I had wanted to help people. Instead, I had started a war. At 3 in the morning, Vincent knocked on my door. Cannot sleep either?
No.
We sat in his study, drinking coffee neither of us wanted. Tell me this was worth it, I said. Tell me that what we are building justifies all this chaos. I cannot tell you that, Vincent said quietly. Only you can decide if it was worth it. But I can tell you that what you have built in 1 month is more real and more important than anything I have built in 20 years. That has to mean something. Richard is going to keep coming. Even if he gets arrested eventually, he has made it his mission to destroy me. Then we destroy him first. I looked at Vincent sharply. I do not want anyone killed. I am not talking about killing him. I am talking about exposing him so completely that he has nothing left.
No credibility.
No resources.
No allies.
Just truth and consequences. Vincent leaned forward. Claire, you saved me from being scammed. Let me return the favor. Let me handle Richard permanently.
How?
Trust me. That is all I ask. The next morning, I woke to chaos. My phone had hundreds of notifications. Missed calls from Barbara, Thomas, Dr. Okonkwo, David, and numbers I did not recognize. I called Barbara first. What happened? Richard released a video. Claire, it is bad. Really bad. She sent me the link. I watched with growing horror as Richard sat in front of a camera, looking sympathetic and sincere. He claimed I had scammed Vincent Russo out of millions. That the foundation was fake. That I had fabricated everything including my mother's illness. That I was actually working with Russian mobsters to launder money through fake charity. The video was slick, professional, convincing, and it was everywhere. He is flipping the narrative, Thomas said when I called him. Making you the villain. People are believing it. Our social media is being flooded with hate. Families who applied for help are panicking. Staff members are quitting. Everything I had built was collapsing in real time. Vincent found me crying in the study. We fight back.
Today.
Now.
How?
He has turned everyone against me. With the truth. With evidence. With every single document proving he is a fraud and you are legitimate.
Vincent made phone calls.
Within an hour, lawyers arrived with boxes of files. We spent the entire day building our response. Financial records showing every dollar was accounted for. Medical records proving my mother's illness was real. Testimony from families Richard had scammed. Evidence of his previous charity frauds. Everything. Thomas crafted a video response. This time, I was not alone. Barbara stood beside me. Dr. Okonkwo. David. Even some of the families we had already helped in our pilot programs. And Vincent, standing in the background, making it clear whose side he was on. My name is Claire Dawson, I said into the camera. And everything Richard Crawford said about me is a lie. Here is the truth. We released everything. Every document. Every receipt. Every piece of evidence proving the foundation was real and Richard was a fraud. The video went viral faster than Richard's had. The response was overwhelming. News outlets picked up the story. Investigative journalists started digging into Richard's past. The families he had scammed came forward publicly. Within 48 hours, the narrative had flipped. Richard went from sympathetic victim to exposed con artist. Warrants were issued for his arrest. The FBI got involved. But Richard still had one play left. 3 days after our response video, I got a call from the hospice facility. My mother had disappeared. The night nurse found her room empty. Security footage showed a man in medical scrubs wheeling her out in a wheelchair at 2 in the morning. Richard had kidnapped my dying mother. The phone call from the facility destroyed me. My mother, barely able to breathe on her own, taken by a desperate criminal with nothing to lose. Every nightmare scenario played through my mind. Vincent was already mobilizing. Police. Private investigators. Every resource he had. We will find her, he promised. But his eyes were worried. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. A photo of my mother in a wheelchair, oxygen tank beside her, looking confused and frightened. The message below made my blood run cold. You have 4 hours to publicly announce you are shutting down the foundation and leaving the city. You will admit on camera that everything was a scam and that you fabricated your mother's illness. You will apologize to me specifically. If you do this, I will return your mother unharmed. If you do not, she dies badly, and you never find the body. I showed Vincent the message. His face went white with rage. He has crossed a line he cannot come back from. I do not care about lines, I said. My voice was eerily calm. I care about getting my mother back alive. You cannot give him what he wants. It will destroy everything you have built. I do not care about the foundation if my mother dies. Tears streamed down my face. She is all I have. She is the reason I did any of this. Barbara appeared with Detective Morrison. They had been coordinating from Vincent's security office. We are tracking the photo metadata, Morrison said. It was taken within the city limits. We are narrowing the location. You have 4 hours, I said. That is not enough time. Then we buy more time, Vincent said. You make a video that looks like you are complying. You apologize. You say you will shut down the foundation. But you do not actually do it. We stall him while we find her. I recorded the video with shaking hands. I sat in front of the camera and lied with everything I had. I am sorry for deceiving everyone. The foundation was built on lies. I manipulated Vincent Russo. I am shutting everything down immediately. Thomas uploaded it with a sick expression. This is going to destroy your credibility. I do not care. Just find my mother. The video bought us 2 more hours. Richard called personally. Very convincing. Now pack a bag and get out of the city. I want proof you are gone by midnight. Give me my mother first. You will get her when I know you are gone. That is not the deal. That is exactly the deal. You do not make demands. You do not negotiate. You do what I say or she dies. He hung up. I looked at Vincent desperately. We are running out of time. Marcus burst into the room. We found something. The oxygen tank in the photo has a serial number visible. We traced it to a medical supply company. They only delivered to 3 locations in the past month. One of them is a warehouse Richard's cousin owns. That is where she is, Vincent said immediately. We go now. Morrison tried to protest. We need a warrant. We need proper procedure. We do not have time for procedure, Vincent said coldly. You can come with us or you can stay behind. But I am getting Claire's mother back. Tonight. We moved as a group. 5 cars full of security, police, and Vincent's people. The warehouse was in an industrial area, dark and isolated. Perfect place to hide someone. Marcus and his team moved in first. I waited in the car with Vincent, barely breathing. Every second felt like an hour. Then I heard it. Shouting.
Gunfire.
My heart stopped. Marcus's voice came through the radio. We have her. She is alive. Get the medics in here now. I ran. I did not wait for permission. I ran across the pavement into the warehouse and found my mother in a corner, still in the wheelchair, oxygen mask on, looking terrified but alive. Mom. I dropped to my knees beside her. Claire, she whispered. I knew you would find me. The paramedics took over. They loaded her into an ambulance. I climbed in with her. You are safe now. You're going back to the facility. What about Richard? She asked weakly. They are handling it. What I did not tell her was that Richard was gone. He had run when Vincent's team breached the warehouse. He was in the wind again. Still dangerous. Still obsessed. But my mother was safe. That was all that mattered in that moment. At the hospital, Dr. Okonkwo met us. She is stable. Dehydrated and stressed, but stable. You got to her in time. I sat beside my mother's bed and held her hand while she slept. Vincent appeared in the doorway hours later. Richard is in custody, he said quietly. Morrison's team picked him up at the Canadian border. He is not getting out this time. I started crying again. Relief.
Exhaustion.
Everything I had been holding in for weeks. You need to retract that video, Vincent said gently. Tell people the truth. That you were coerced. That the foundation is real. I will, I said. Tomorrow. Tonight, I just want to sit with my mother. Vincent nodded and left me alone with her. 3 days later, we held a press conference. I stood in front of cameras with Detective Morrison beside me and told the truth. About Richard's threats. About the kidnapping. About the coerced confession. About everything. The response was overwhelming.
Support poured in.
Donations flooded the foundation. Families reached out offering help. The community rallied around us. Richard Crawford was charged with kidnapping, fraud, extortion, and a dozen other crimes. The evidence was overwhelming. He would spend the rest of his life in prison. The Kozlov family disappeared back into whatever shadows they came from. Vincent's reputation took hits from the publicity, but he did not seem to care. Was it worth it? I asked him a week later. We were at the clinic. The grand opening was scheduled for the next day. Every second, Vincent said. You turned blood money into hope. That is worth any amount of bad press. The grand opening of the Horizon Hope Alliance Clinic was scheduled for a Tuesday morning in late October. 6 weeks after I had stood in Giovanni's restaurant and changed my life forever. The building was transformed.
Bright. Clean.
Welcoming. Everything a medical facility should be. Families lined up outside before we even opened the doors. People who had been waiting for weeks to be seen. Children who needed treatment. Parents who needed hope. Barbara stood beside me looking at the crowd. This is what success looks like. Dr. Okonkwo was coordinating the medical staff. Thomas was managing the media presence. David had taken a day off from the restaurant to help with crowd control. Marcus and his team provided security. And Vincent stood in the back, watching everything with an expression I had never seen before.
Pride, maybe.
Or something close to it. My mother was there too, in a wheelchair with oxygen, but there.
Alive.
Present. Ready to see what her suffering had helped create. Are you ready? Barbara asked me. No, I admitted. But let us do this anyway. I stood in front of the crowd with a microphone. My name's Claire Dawson. 6 weeks ago, I was a waitress with a dying mother and no hope for the future. Today, I am standing in front of the first of what I hope will be many clinics dedicated to providing real help to families facing cancer. This is for everyone who has ever been told no. For everyone who has had to choose between treatment and rent. For everyone who has been scammed by people like Richard Crawford. This is real. This is yours. And we are here to help. The crowd erupted. Not in applause, but in something deeper. Relief. Gratitude. Recognition that someone finally understood their struggles. We opened the doors. The first family through was a mother with a 7-year-old daughter newly diagnosed with leukemia. Dr. Okonkwo greeted them personally. Within an hour, they had a complete treatment plan and a schedule for chemotherapy.
No bills. No bureaucracy.
Just help. By the end of the day, we had seen 40 families. Provided immediate assistance to 30. Connected the others to resources and specialists. It was chaos and beautiful, and exactly what I had imagined. As the last family left, I found Vincent standing in the treatment room where my mother would have received care if we had opened months earlier. She would have survived, I said quietly. If this place had existed when she was diagnosed, she would have had a real chance. Maybe, Vincent said. But her illness created this place. That has to mean something. It does not feel like enough. It never does. But it is what we have. My mother asked to speak to Vincent before we left. I wheeled her into a quiet office. She looked at him with eyes that saw everything. Thank you, she said simply, for giving my daughter a chance to be more than she thought she could be. She always was more, Vincent said. I just gave her resources to prove it. No, my mother corrected gently. You gave her belief. Resources are easy. Belief is rare. She reached out and took his hand. You think you're a bad man. I can see it on your face. You think what you have done in your life cannot be balanced by what you are doing now. But you are wrong. Claire is proof you are wrong. This clinic is proof. Every family you help is proof. Being good is not about erasing the past. It is about choosing better for the future. Vincent's eyes were suspiciously bright. I will remember that. That night, Thomas released a documentary he had been filming since the beginning. It showed everything. The threats. The kidnapping. The truth about Richard's crimes. The transformation of the clinic. The first families being helped. It went viral immediately. Millions of views in the first 24 hours. News outlets covered it. Politicians referenced it. Other communities reached out asking how to replicate what we had done. The foundation became a movement. Within a month, we had funding to open 3 more clinics. Within 3 months, pharmaceutical companies were offering medication at cost just to be associated with us. Within 6 months, we had helped over 1,000 families. But the moment I will never forget came 2 months after opening. A woman walked into the clinic with her teenage son. She looked familiar, but I could not place her. "Ms. Dawson," she said nervously, "I do not know if you remember me. My name is Jennifer. You served my table at Giovanni's a few months ago." I did remember.
Barely.
Just another customer among thousands. "My son was diagnosed with bone cancer last year," Jennifer continued. "We tried everything. We applied to that fake Horizon Hope charity. We were rejected. We had nowhere else to turn. But then I saw your story. I saw what you were building. And I brought my son here last week." She was crying now. "You saved his life. Dr. Okonkwo got him into an experimental treatment program. He is responding. He is going to live. Because of what you built. Because you spoke up that night in the restaurant." Her son hugged me. "Thank you for being brave." I could barely speak. This was why everything had been worth it. My mother died 3 months after the clinic opened. Peacefully. In comfort. Surrounded by love. She lived long enough to see her suffering create hope for thousands of families. Long enough to know that her daughter had become someone who changed lives. Her funeral was held at the clinic. Hundreds of people attended. Families we had helped. Staff members. Community leaders. Vincent stood in the back, quiet and respectful. David came and held my hand through the service. Marcus and his team provided security, even though none was needed. Barbara gave a eulogy. Patricia Dawson never met most of the people in this room. But her illness and her daughter's love created the foundation that brought us all together. She is proof that suffering does not have to be meaningless. That pain can become purpose if we choose to transform it. I scattered her ashes in the clinic garden we had built. A peaceful space where patients could sit and breathe and remember that they were more than their diagnosis. Standing there, watching her ashes drift in the wind, I felt something unexpected. Not grief, though that was there, but peace. She had not died for nothing. Her struggle had meaning. That mattered more than I could express. Vincent found me later in my office. "How are you holding up?" "I am okay," I said honestly. She was ready. She held on long enough to see this place succeed. That is more than most people get. "What happens now?" Vincent asked. "We expand. We build more clinics. We help more families. We turn this into something national, maybe international." I looked at him. "Are you still in? This is going to take years. Maybe decades." "I am in," Vincent said.
For as long as you need me.
"Good. Because I have plans. Big plans. And they require your particular skills and resources." Vincent smiled. "I am listening." Over the next year, the foundation grew beyond anything I had imagined. We opened clinics in 8 cities. We developed partnerships with hospitals and research centers. We created scholarship programs for medical students from underserved communities. We hired people who had lived through what our patients were experiencing. David eventually quit the restaurant and came to work for us full-time, managing community outreach. Dr. Okonkwo became our chief medical officer, overseeing all treatment protocols. Barbara remained my right hand, turning my chaotic ideas into functional programs. And Vincent quietly funded it all, attending every opening, meeting every family, slowly transforming from feared criminal to anonymous philanthropist. Richard Crawford was sentenced to 40 years in federal prison. He would die behind bars, his legacy nothing but pain he caused and the justice that finally caught him. The Kozlov family never bothered us again. Whatever arrangement Vincent made with them remained private. I did not ask. Some things were better left unknown. 1 year after opening our first clinic, I returned to Giovanni's restaurant. Not as a waitress, but as a customer. I sat at table 12, the corner booth where everything had started. The restaurant was different now. Under new management, after Vincent sold it. But the booth was the same. The view was the same. The memories were the same. A young waitress approached nervously. "Can I get you something?" I looked at her. She was tired, anxious, working hard to survive. Just like I had been. "What is your name?" I asked. "Emma." "Emma, I used to work here."
I know what this job is like.
"I know how hard you are working." I handed her a business card for the foundation. "If you ever need help, medical or otherwise, you come find me. We take care of people like us." She looked at the card with confused gratitude. "Thank you. And Emma, if you ever see something wrong happening, something that will hurt people, speak up. Even if it is scary. Even if you do not think anyone will listen.
Speak up anyway.
You never know what might happen." She nodded, not understanding but taking the advice seriously. I left her a tip that was probably more than she made in a week. Walking out of Giovanni's for the last time, I thought about the girl I had been.
Scared.
Struggling. Certain she would never be anything more than a waitress barely surviving paycheck to paycheck. That girl had saved a mafia boss from a scam. That girl had built a foundation that changed thousands of lives. That girl had turned suffering into purpose. She had been braver than she knew. Stronger than she believed. More capable than anyone gave her credit for. And now she was gone. Transformed into someone who knew her worth. Who understood her power. Who refused to stay silent when people needed help. My phone buzzed. A text from Vincent. "Board meeting in an hour. We have a donor who wants to fund clinics in 5 more cities. Your presence required." I smiled. This was my life now. Meetings and decisions, and the weight of thousands of people counting on me. It was overwhelming and exhausting and absolutely perfect. I typed back. "On my way." Because this was not the end of a story. It was barely the beginning. There were millions of families who still needed help. Thousands of scammers who still needed to be stopped. A whole system that needed to be changed. And I was just getting started. Before I share more stories like this one, I need to ask you something. Did this story move you? Did Claire's journey resonate with you? If it did, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below and tell me what spoke to you. Because every view, every share, every comment helps us reach more people. Helps us tell more stories. Helps us remind people that one person speaking up can change everything. Claire Dawson started as a poor waitress and became someone who saved lives. What will your story be? When will you speak up? When will you refuse to stay quiet in the face of injustice? The world needs more people like Claire. People who see wrong and refuse to accept it. People who turn pain into purpose. People who believe that even the smallest voice can create the biggest change. Be that person. Find your moment. Change your world. And come back next week. Because I have more stories about ordinary people who did extraordinary things. About courage in unexpected places. About justice finally finding its way home. Until then, remember what Claire taught us. Speaking up is scary. Building something new is hard. Fighting people with more power seems impossible. But impossible just means no one has done it yet. Thanks for listening. Thanks for believing. Thanks for being part of this community. Now go out there and be brave. The world is waiting for your voice.